cost of funds. Understanding cost of funds. Now, as a farmer or as a business person, one of the biggest errors I have seen us make, notice I use the word us, so I'm not just speaking for, oh, this is not, you do it and I'm innocent. No, no, no. I'm speaking for all of us as a team. One of the biggest errors or mistakes I've seen us make is we do not know. Hi, Abraham. I'm trying to get out of what is their light-ish. I'm still learning it, so just pardon a an amateur person. What's it called? Vlogger. They said he's a vlogger. Now, one of the errors I have seen a lot of us make in this area of agri is we do not know how to accurately calculate our cost of funds. You see, every money that you put into your business comes at a cost. I will say that again. Every money you put into your business comes at a cost. Every money, whether it is your personal money, borrowed money, equity, whatever money you are putting into your business, it comes at a cost. And one of the biggest issues I have realized is a lot of us do not understand how to accurately calculate that funds, the cost of that funds. And I was listening to a podcast by Senior Oga, and the man said something that, I mean, it's the truth, but sometimes we tend to forget, or people tend to forget. And the man said, all the risk of a business, all the risk of a business at the end of the day, when you do all your plus and minus, Isaac's farm, he said all the risk of a business at the end of the day is carried by the owner of the business. Meaning, should anything ever happen to that business, should the business enter into debt or anything, the person that bears the burden of that issue is the owner of the business. Which means as the CEO of what you are running right now, the burden of the failure of that business, the burden of the crashing of that business falls on you, which is very true. Then he said the problem is many a time, the workforce start aiming unconsciously to be treated the way the CEO is treated, forgetting that the CEO is the person that carries the burden, not others. Yes, other people have their own sacrifices and all of that they are putting in, no doubt. But the point he was trying to make is when shit hits the fan, other people will go get other jobs. It's the CEO that sits down and carries the whole mess. If, for example, think about it, your company closes today, how many of the staff, your workforce, will sit back and say, because this thing has closed down and Oga has not been able to start a new business, we die here with them. We die here with them. You know, the reality is majority will move on to other things, right? I'm going somewhere. Now, many a time for that business to have started, for that company to have started, the CEO, the owner of the business, brought in their personal funds. The owner of the business brought in their personal funds. But you see, the issue is when they bring in their personal funds, they have families to feed. Yes, 90% will leave. Yes, that's why I said, again, I am not blaming them for leaving. It's only normal they leave, and because I mean they have their responsibilities, they have their life and all of that. As your staff, they have their life. But what I'm trying to say is many a time the workers forget that and start thinking we are doing Oga a favor. We are doing Oga a favor. It's a privilege for Oga. It's a privilege to the boss. But the reality is no. There is a contract that binds us together, that you are very good at your job, that you are going the extra mile for your job, still does not remove that bottom line. Now, I'm going somewhere. Now, you realize that when the CEO is starting that business, at some point they bring in their personal funds, use their personal money to get the stuff running. Now, the problem is you realize that as the business begins to grow, the earnings, the salaries, the stipends, the bonuses of everybody begins to go up because the company is getting bigger. But the issue is, I mean, if you're a CEO, I'm sure you probably understand where I'm going. As a CEO, as the owner of the business, if you take time and look at it, you suddenly realize that the life of the staffs are getting better. The life of your workers is getting better as your business grows, their earning grows, everything is growing except your own earning. You get to a point where a lot of CEOs are, where the company is getting richer, but the CEO is getting poorer. The company is getting richer, the CEO is getting poorer. And many a time, a lot of CEOs do not get the opportunity of learning how to be taken care of by the baby that they have given birth to the company. Then somebody understand, hey, Mr. Samuel, is that? say Elvis, good evening on YouTube, good evening. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to explain. I know that this is a conversation that is better when I have like masterclass. Because if you are not a CEO, this will not be something you probably understand, because somebody might be thinking, are you saying, oh, CEOs should not pay their staff well? No. If you know me, you would know I am one of those that advocates that, oh, we need to pay people better. However, that's why we need the agricultural sector to become better so that people have money to pay people well. The reason why there are lots of innovations in tech, in fintech, in oil and gas, in banking sector, in entertainment is because these guys have money to pay people well. But in farming, you are not making enough to even pay people well, so you don't have the best brains. Somebody is asking, is that not a sign of mismanagement? No. So, if you are a CEO, think of when you had just a single staff, when all you could probably do was pay 10K or 20K per month. Think about it. You kept putting in your money, putting in your everything. The business began to grow. It began to grow. UK, thank you, began to grow. It got to a point where you could probably pay them minimum wage. You got more staff. Your business began to grow. It grew to a point where you are able to pay them living wage. In Nigeria, minimum wage is 70K. living wage, I think, is either 109,000 or 110, I can't remember, per month. Your business grew and grew. Now you are paying your guys maybe whatever you are paying them in hundreds of thousands or in millions of naira. But you are paying your guys well. Now, if you take time, I want you to understand that cost of funds. If you take time to study how the company has grown, you were paying somebody before 10K. That was your highest paid staff. Now your company has grown to a point, let's even say you can now pay 100K. What is the percentage increase from 10,000 to 100,000? That's over maybe 500% increase, right? Now, if you look at that 500% increase, that is a 500% earning capacity increase, right? If somebody gets what I'm trying to explain. Meaning, the folks that were working with you from the beginning, who was earning 10,000 naira per month, that was your highest paid staff. You have been able to move from paying 10,000 naira per month to paying 100,000 naira per month to your highest paid staff. It does not have to be the same person. Maybe initially the person you were paying 10K was the gate man. But your business has grown to the point where you've hired a manager, as an example, and you are paying that manager 100,000 per month. Meaning, your business has been able to increase earning capacity for its workforce, not just increase the number of people in the workforce, but increase the earning capacity by 500%. By 500%. Are we together? This is what your company has been able to do. Now, if you look at what you are earning as the CEO, thank you, Makaluk. If you look at what you are earning as the CEO, have you been able to increase your own earning by 500%? Think about it. As a CEO, let me get your feedback. Yes, no. Because you have been able to successfully increase that of others. Have you been able to increase yours by 500% in that same space? Because remember, the funds that you gave to your company was a startup capital, a loan. You need to start paying yourself, boss. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to explain. Because many a time as the CEO, you are now super focused on, I've been there before. You are super focused on the well-being of the company. You are super focused on the well-being of your staff. You are focused on the well-being of your customers. And before you know what is happening, nobody is concerned about your own well-being. Because when your company starts to grow, the banks will come, financial institutions will come. They want to give you loan. They want to offer you credit facility. Insurance guys will come. They want to offer you safety, which you will still pay for anyway. Everybody around you is around you for what you pay them. There is nobody around you who sits to think, how do we help you earn? Now, until how do I explain this? Now, at some point, if you are lucky, you are going to have a few staff who are concerned about the earning of the company. If you are lucky, if you are fortunate, you are going to have a few staff who are genuinely concerned about the earnings of the company. But you see, the earnings of the company, it's not the same with your earning. It's not the same with your earning. So when we talk about the cost of funds, the cost of funds I'm referring to this time around is the cost of funds that you put in. You have been putting in your money, you have been putting in your money. Some of you have probably built that business for 5 years, for 7 years, for 10 years. At what point will that system start taking care of you? I feel this is a conversation that is probably better in a controlled environment. Maybe I would think of how to create maybe one Zoom class or Google Meet class just for a few set of people to discuss this. But I really hope somebody understood what I'm trying to say. Hope somebody understood. Sorry, I'm trying to see your comment. The comment disappeared. Okay. Yes, you can ask your question. So no, I'm not talking about accounting concepts. Not an accounting concept. Not an accounting concept. How do I explain that? What I am saying is not accounting this time around. Let me explain it in another way. So let me look for another way to explain it. I am the one making this phone. Or for me, I want to start selling phone. I want to start doing phone business. As an example, maybe I've been doing work, I saved my salary. Then I went to buy this phone. Now, I went to get this phone, right? Now, on getting this phone, I started selling one, making small profit, Remember, I started with my money happy. All the monies that I am making, I am still putting it back in this business. I have not thought about me. At some point, I now hired somebody, let's say sales rep. That sale, when I was working, like most people, you are not even paying yourself because you are just starting. You know what I'm talking about. You are not yet paying yourself any salary. At some point, you now hired somebody. The fact that you are not paying yourself does not mean you will not pay the person, abi? Except it's a family or friend that just chose to volunteer. But what then happens is you started paying this person. Let's say the first person you hired was from a second university intern or somebody on holiday. You even pay the person 5K per month just to hold body and soul together. But the business continued to grow. You are now at that point where your business has grown. You have maybe 20 staff. You have 20, 30 staff. And you are now the highest paid person in your company, let's even say, is 100K. Now, remember that when you started, you were paying 5,000 naira to your first staff. But your company has grown to the point where you have 20 staff and you are able to pay 100,000 naira now to a staff. This is what it means. In all ramification, as the entrepreneur, as the CEO, this is not whether sole proprietor or partnership, as the CEO, or let me not use CEO, as the managing director, because the person who is a director and also running the company is called the MD. Now, as a managing director of that company, you have been able to grow the earning, the earning of that company to a point where you have 20 staff, right? You are able to do 20 staff on one hand. Two, you have increased their earning from 5K to maybe 100K, which is good, Abi. But the issue is, in all of this, you have been conscious about growing the company, conscious about satisfying the customer, conscious about the earning of your staff, because you want your staff to earn well so that they can stay well, do better, and all of that, right? The question is, in all of this, I said, if you are lucky, you probably have a staff who is also concerned about the earning of the company, which is fine, which is beautiful. But at what point is there somebody that is, or let me find a way to put it, at what point do you remember that your own earning has really not increased? I know you may have increased your salary, yes, but if you check your standard of living really, and you look at how much you are paying out to people as salary per month, and people are like the boss, the boss, the boss, your life and your earning does not really match your sacrifice anymore. Does somebody, do you understand what I'm trying to explain? So it's not about an accounting concept. So when we are talking about the cost of funds and all of that, that is why you realize, still around our conversation around talking to investors, that is why you realize at times the investor will be like, mm-mm. That's why if you go pitch in some, like you are pitching to like real investors, you hear questions around, how are you as the CEO? How do we take care of you? What do you need? That is why you see things like somebody goes to pitch, they get equity or debt. Once they get that equity or debt, as part of the investment, they probably get the CEO or the MD a car, a house, a this, a that, because the investor realizes the fact that you are working, but your earning is not commensurate to your work. I remember I was reading about a tech startup that failed, that has closed down recently. And I was seeing what people were saying online, because one of the things I think they wrote about the tech guys was the CEOs were earning, if I remember correctly, was it $10,000 or $20,000 per month? A Nigerian CEO, young tech startup. And people were like, oh, I saw a lot of comments. People were like, why would they be earning that much? This, blah, blah, blah. That is why they could never fulfill their. And in my mind, I'm like, no, the investors that invested signed off for them to earn that much, because they understood the sacrifice they were putting in was that much. But the question is, for you, who is fighting for you? Who is fighting for you? Because again, I was going to have that conversations here, but I feel this is probably not the best avenue. So that's why I said I'll probably think of a time and create like a link, and those who are interested, you come in. You have to be a CEO to be part of that class. So I would stop here. Then if there's any question, I will stop here. But you have to be a CEO to be a part of that class, so that you really understand what I am saying. You understand what I am saying. You know how to calculate it. You know how to position yourself, how to position the company so that you are properly paid. That's why I said I'm stopping the class on that, because now I'm realizing maybe this is not the best avenue to teach that. Any question? I paused the program for young farmers for now, but let's see, before the end of the year, we might resume again. So the cost of capital I'm talking about this time around is, what is the minimum returns you should get? Because you need to know, you have invested money in your company, what is the returns you should get? It's not just about being told you are now a big man, you have a big company. What is the returns that you should get? Because if we don't understand the cost of capital, you will not know when to go for debt and when to go for equity. Any question? If not, we'll stop here. Like I said, this is a conversation that is best for CEOs who are matured in the process, who are already in the, so because if not, the examples will just be flying over people's head. It will be flying over people's head. The people will not understand what I'm saying, to just be flying over their head, like vroom, 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 just fly over their head. This is why, let me look for a way to give another example. Let me use musicians as an example. Look at some of our not older generation now, the early 2000 musicians, like the African China, Daddy Shoki, what's their name? Not the musicians, I don't want to talk about the ones that are still reigning till now, But the guys that have reigned, but it feels like they don't have any music available anymore. The Banky W's, the Neto C, Ike Chuku. Good evening, ma. Food safety mama. Good evening, ma. Look at those guys. You realize that although they don't have music anymore reigning, they are still practically fine financially. You see, because there is a system that was put in place to pay them so that their life can be maintained regardless of their crafts. That's the point I'm trying to teach, or what I'm trying to explain. That their life can be maintained regardless of the crafts, right? The same thing, farmers have not learned how to calculate and position such that what they are building at some point takes care of them, such that they are no longer dependent on the running of the farm for their survival and their maintenance. That's the point I'm trying to make. Returns on investment. Because it does not make sense that you have taken all your hard-earned money, taken from friends, a gift, everything, put everything in your business. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, you cannot leave your business to have a life. Then it means that you never really had a business. You were just hustling 9 to 5 in your name. There is no protection, there is nothing. Because you realize that your staff, if you have your structure and everything in place, get a pension and everything. Which means at the end of life, they get pension and all of that coming to them. But for you as the CEO, there is nothing like that created for you. And the reason is not because that is not available. The reason is usually because we are not knowledgeable to know that there is a pathway that protects CEOs. So, unfortunately, CEOs structure their finance and their living like a salary earner. But you are a CEO. And if you are not taught that there is a different playbook on the compensation for CEOs, you are going to put your compensation like a salary earner. And at the end of the day, when you say, oh, you have built a company, and you now look back, it feels like you have spent your life for people. Because when you look at what you have, yes, you have a good company, a big company, a great company, but bottom line is the company looks like a legacy that even you are not a beneficiary of anymore. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to explain. That's what I'm trying to say. That there is a way companies are set up to ensure that what you are building has also built you. Hope that made sense. I really hope that made sense. I don't know, but I hope that made sense. I know it's a short class, but I hope somebody understood what I'm trying to explain. But like I said, I feel this is a conversation best for CEOs, not an everybody thingy, because a lot of people would misinterpret, or the information may fly over people's head. Information may fly over people's head. That is why when you see the likes of, look at some of the big CEOs today that we have, you see the lifestyle that they are able to maintain. Even when you see some of them say, oh, I think, I don't remember the name of the company recently, that it was on the news where they kind of shut down their operations and everything and all of that. But when they, I think, I don't remember what the name of the company was, that they shut down a lot of their operations. But even at that, while shutting down the operation, there was still a system in place to ensure that the life of the CEOs were taken care of. I'm trying to remember the name of the company, that I think one of them was paid, a company that was going bankrupt still paid the CEO, one of the partners was it $50,000 or $70,000 for a company that was going bankrupt in Nigeria? Because there is a system that is supposed to protect CEOs. Unfortunately, most CEOs do not even know that this exists. And the reason most people do not know that this exists is because in our everyday life, we talk more with fellow 9-to-5ers. Our friends are 9-to-5ers or solopreneurs. So they don't even know that there is a different conversation available and they have never been a part of it. I really hope we understood what I thought. I know it felt or feels like I am speaking more parable than English. I know it feels like that, but I hope we understood. I hope we did. Thank you for joining. Tomorrow I'll try and see if I can come up earlier and take a topic I know I can truly discuss. I'm not sure why I thought I could discuss this here, but thank you for joining. Have a great night. Hi, Fanfare.